We would like to begin today by acknowledging the Gubbi Gubbi peoples and the Jinnabara peoples, the traditional custodians of the land on which this video is being recorded. We pay our respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today.
Hi guys, welcome to Sea Life Sunshine Coast right here in Australia. My name is Carla.
My name's Demi, and today we are so excited to be talking to you about our penguin guest experiences and how that all looked when we were developing it.
In 2019 began the big overhaul of our freshwater crocodile exhibit into a little blue penguin exhibit. We knew we had 14 birds coming in late 2019.
This was so exciting for our team because obviously we'd never had little blue penguins. So with that came a lot of challenges, didn't it?
It certainly did. So for our penguins, at the end of the year, they were going into a molt. So we had to arrange transports before and after molt. And when they were to arrive, they would arrive into our quarantine area. And this was set up to ensure that they were both mentally and physically stimulated.
During their time in quarantine, the foundations were really laid. We were building our relationships, and we did this via minimal staff changeover to begin with and increased over time. We spent time in the habitat with them, either cleaning or just sitting in order to build that trust. We also began our foundational training through hand feeds, reinforcement of calm behaviour, and the desensitization of all the things around them.
Our penguins came in at different times. So we didn't get the 14 in one hit.
And don't forget, we also got a rescue bird in there too.
That's right.
A few months after opening.
We had a lot to go through. So it was time to put the birds onto display, which we were super excited for. We had all of these birds come from 4 different locations across Australia. So we needed to make sure our little ones were well equipped and adapted for life here on the sunny coast. So the majority of these penguins that came to us from all over Australia didn't have a huge amount of experience with penguin interactives. So we had to take that into account. When we got our little birdies, we actually had to start training from the get-go. So one thing that we did notice is that we did something really, really cool. We had penguins arrive from a number of different locations and they were already colonized birds. We brought them to the sunny coast and had to form a colony with them. What we didn't take into account is the amount of time it would take for these animals to get in sync with one another in regards to breeding and molting. Okay guys, we are now going to look at our timeline.
This timeline really demonstrates the individual journey that we went on here at Sea Life Sunshine Coast. But there are a couple of things that I want to highlight to you all. As you can see, November 2019 was a pretty big month for us here. The penguins had been introduced to their new home. And 3 months on from that was when we launched our product of Land Guest Interactives. And then it was 11 months after that is when we introduced our in-water guest interactives, a product like no other around the world.
Hi guys, we're about to talk about our land penguin encounters. Now, to begin with, most of our birds had been fed by staff members only, so there was limited interaction with guests. And of course, our birds had just arrived and we were on a time crunch, so we needed to make sure that all birds were comfortable with eating. We decided to offer food from multiple locations to ensure that the comfort of the birds was our first priority.
This had also involved desensitizing the penguins to feeding with gloves and also our feeding containers.
We decided that it was time, all the birds were comfortable, and we would only feed them in the land interaction area. So we did introduce our penguin seats, which are, as you can see, some brown boxes of different sizes for children and for adults. We then started off with 1 trainer, approximating to 4. And then adding in that 1 extra person to make sure that we had the correct number, the maximum guest possibility. So before any encounter, we always come and do husbandry checks on the animals, making sure everyone is healthy and eating. During their very first feed, so the early morning feed, we would give and offer everyone their vitamin feed. That way we could get an up close look and feel as to how these birds are for the day. But if needed, we could always cancel our interactives. The penguins always came first. In deciding this, we also worked with the government agencies to determine that the penguins would only have encounters 5 days out of the week. As per our protocols, we can have up to 10 penguin encounters per week, land or in water, and with a maximum of 2 a day. Maximum time that guests can spend in the exhibit is 30 minutes. However, interactive time is only 15 minutes. After an encounter, we'll wait up to half an hour for the birds to have another feed, just to ensure that those that didn't participate in the encounter have another opportunity to eat.
Being a guest encounter, we of course have guidelines that our guests need to reach to be able to participate in these programs. Feel free to pause this video and take a look.
Now, one of the other challenges that we faced was some of the birds that come from different facilities hadn't actually been exposed to in-water feeds. So we not only had to build the relationships with these birds to be able to hand feed them and have them feel comfortable with us there, we were also training them to do it in the water so that eventually we could start those in-water penguin encounters. Alright guys, now I'm going to talk you through how we developed our in-water penguin experience. So at the moment I am stood on a platform that is allowing our guests to also come and stand on here. We have a maximum of 2 guests at a time and our trainer in the middle of our guests. Now, to build up to this encounter, we had to do a lot of training and a lot of desensitization. Now, what this kind of looked like overall was we first started feeding from the edge of the water. As we mentioned earlier, we hadn't had a full colony of in-water feeders, so we had to do a bit of training around that first of all. So we fed from different locations around the habitat to be able to get them used to feeding whilst they're swimming around in the water. And for some, it was very natural. For others, it was a little bit harder. Then we started to introduce a trainer in the water with them. Now we actually jumped in the water with them without food first of all, and then we started to introduce our feeding. Now when we are feeding our animals in the water, we are also very cautious to make sure that we have our fish at least 5 centimeters above the surface. In this instance, it allows us to monitor their behavior so that we're minimizing any flapping or splashing that they might be exhibiting. We trialed different times of the day what was going to be our most successful time for them to feed. And this is because this was going to be a guest encounter. So we always wanted to make sure that there were going to be penguins around when our guests were paying good money to participate in such a magical experience. So it was found that the afternoons were our most successful feeds, and we did quite a few of these before we actually launched the product. We did some with 1 trainer in the water, just feeding. We then started to introduce a 2nd and a 3rd trainer. And then over time, we also got other staff from around the aquarium to jump in and be our guinea pigs. And this was something that nobody was complaining about. With all of our sessions, we have a recall that we have trained. And this changed a couple of times as we were beginning our relationship with our little blue penguins. But our most effective is this little black bag. Every time our penguins hear this sound, they know that there is an opportunity for food for them. Now, something else that we were able to do to help make this area really, really positive for our penguins was to start putting some scatter feeds in so that they know that this is where all of their food is available. We also implemented a lot of our enrichment in this area here as well. Again, to make things really, really positive for our penguins, and we started to see quite a lot of abundance of our little blue penguins spending a lot of time in this area here.
Just like our land encounter, we required guidelines for our in-water encounters as well. You can see highlighted in yellow the ones that differ from our land encounters. Again, pause this video to take a closer look at these guidelines.
Well, that wraps up everything here in regards to penguins at Sea Life Sunshine Coast. We hope to see you guys here one day so we can chat all things penguin.
Just want to say a huge thank you to ABMA for allowing us to be a part of Behaviour Month. Thank you so much for having us, and also thank you to you guys for listening in and taking note to help us better the welfare of our animals all around the world.